I did not expect to be woken at 3 in the morning by a priority alert from Fleet Command. I sat up in my bunk, rubbed my eyes, and read the message twice before I believed it. The Kryvex Accord, a council of alien nations that had barely spoken to Earth in 5 years, wanted us at an emergency meeting. Their message was short and a little insulting. They asked us to send a suitable representative craft to their neutral station near the Threll Belt. Suitable. As if we were still the same species they met years ago, flying around in tin cans with barely working engines. I smiled at that word, the whole way to the briefing room. Most people in the galaxy still believed Earth was behind. They remembered our first contact, when our ships were slow, our weapons were weak, and our engineers were still learning how the rest of the universe worked. They had no idea how much we changed since then. We didn't brag about it. We didn't send flashy messages about our new technology. We simply built, tested, and waited. I am Captain Elena Voss, and that night, I was told I would be leading the ship they least expected. When I arrived at the docking bay, my crew was already lined up, standing tall, trying to hide their excitement. Beyond the glass, resting in its private hangar, was the Prometheus. It was not a shuttle. It was not even a normal warship. It was the newest class of vessel Earth had ever built, a giant of steel and light, humming quietly with power that could be felt through the floor. My first officer, Daniel Reyes, walked beside me as we boarded. They asked for a shuttle, he said, grinning. They're going to get a surprise, I replied. The truth was, humanity had learned an important lesson after our early meetings with other species. Being seen as weak invited trouble. Pirates tested our borders. Some alien governments tried to push unfair trade deals on us, because they assumed we had no power to refuse. So Earth quietly built stronger ships, trained smarter crews, and studied every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. We turned fear into determination. We turned starting from behind into a reason to work harder. Now, years later, the Prometheus was the result of all that effort. It was not just big, it was smart, fast, and strong enough to make any other ship in the galaxy look small by comparison. As we lifted off from Earth's orbital station, the crew fell into their usual rhythm. Engineers checked systems. Navigators charted a course through hyperspace lanes. I stood at the front of the bridge, watching the stars blur into streaks of light as we entered warp. The trip to the Threll Belt would take almost a day. I used part of that time to review what little information we had about the meeting. The Kryvex Accord was a group of older species, proud of their long history and advanced culture. They saw themselves as leaders of civilized space, and Earth as a new, unproven member, still trying to prove itself. It was clear from their tone that they expected us to be intimidated. I was not. 6 hours into the trip, my communications officer, Priya Nandan, told me she picked up alien traffic chatter near the meeting point. She played it for me, and I heard 2 alien officers talking, laughing about the primitive human vessel that would soon arrive. One of them joked that we might show up in something barely large enough to carry a crew of 5. I couldn't help but smile again. If only they knew. Let them think what they want, I told Priya. They'll understand soon enough. The final hours of the trip felt different. My crew grew quieter, more focused. It wasn't fear. It was the calm that comes before doing something important. Everyone on board understood what this meeting meant. It wasn't just about diplomacy. It was about showing the galaxy that Earth was not the same nation it used to be. When we finally dropped out of warp near the Threll station, my sensors lit up with dozens of ships from different alien species, all gathered for the same emergency meeting. Cruisers, transport vessels, small fighters, everything spread out around the station like a crowd waiting for a show. Position us near the main dock, I told my helmsman, nice and steady. As the Prometheus came into view, I watched the reactions play out across our sensor screens. Alien traffic control channels went silent for a moment, then burst into confused chatter. Warning lights flickered on several nearby ships. A few smaller vessels moved quickly out of our path, as if worried we might bump into them by accident. I opened a channel to the station. This is Captain Elena Voss of the Earth vessel Prometheus, requesting permission to dock for the emergency council meeting. There was a long pause before anyone answered. When the alien traffic controller finally spoke, his voice sounded shaky. "Captain Voss, this is the ship representing Earth?" "That's correct," I said, keeping my voice calm and polite. "We were told to send a suitable craft. I hope this works." Another pause. Then, quietly, "Please proceed to Dock 7. As we moved toward the station, I looked out at the other ships gathered nearby. Compared to the Prometheus, most of them looked like small boats next to a floating city. I felt proud, not because we wanted to show off, but because we had earned this moment through years of hard work. Docking took only a few minutes. My crew prepared a small team to accompany me to the council chamber, including Daniel and 2 of our top engineers, in case any technical questions came up. As we walked through the station's long hallway, aliens from different species stopped what they were doing to stare. Some whispered. Some simply stood still, watching us pass. The council chamber was a large circular room with high windows showing a view of space outside. Alien delegates from at least 6 different worlds sat around a curved table, each representing their nation in the accord. When I entered, wearing my Earth Fleet uniform, all conversation stopped. One of the delegates, an older alien with silver skin and calm eyes, stood to greet me. "Captain Voss, we're not expecting such a vessel." "I understand," I said, taking my seat. "You asked for something suitable. I believe we delivered." A ripple of nervous energy passed through the room. Some delegates exchanged glances. Others tried to keep their expressions neutral, though I could tell they were rethinking everything they believed about Earth. The council leader, a tall alien named Ambassador Threll, cleared his throat and began the meeting. "We called this emergency session because of a growing danger approaching this region of space. A group of rogue raiders, powerful and unpredictable, has been attacking trade routes and small colonies. Several of our own defense fleets have failed to stop them." He paused, looking directly at me. "We believe this threat will soon reach human territory as well. That is why we requested your presence." I nodded, listening carefully. This wasn't just a political meeting. It was a call for help, wrapped in careful diplomatic language. "How serious is this threat?" I asked. Threll exchanged a glance with the other delegates before answering. "Serious enough that 3 worlds have already requested emergency evacuation plans. Serious enough that our own strongest ships were unable to hold them back in recent battles." The room grew quiet. I could feel the weight of the moment settle over everyone present. "We are asking," Threll continued, his voice more humble now, "for Earth to consider joining our defense effort. We understand this may be difficult, given how limited we once believed your capabilities to be." I almost smiled at his careful wording, but I kept my expression steady. This was not the time for pride. It was the time for decision. "Ambassador Threll," I said, "Earth has always believed in protecting those who need help, regardless of how we've been viewed in the past. If your people are facing a serious threat, we are willing to stand with you." Relief spread across the room. Several delegates exchanged surprised looks, clearly not expecting such quick agreement. "However," I added, "I think it's important for you to understand exactly what kind of support we can offer." I nodded to Daniel, who opened a small holographic display showing basic information about the Prometheus and a few other ships in Earth's fleet. Careful not to reveal anything overly detailed, we gave the council a general idea of our capabilities, enough to reassure them without giving away every secret of our technology. Threll studied the display with wide eyes. "This ship alone is more advanced than anything we currently have stationed in this sector." "This is one of several ships we can deploy," I said calmly. "We came prepared, because we believed this meeting might involve more than diplomacy." The delegates began speaking quietly among themselves, clearly recalculating their understanding of Earth's place in galactic matters. It was strange to watch, seeing years of assumptions shift in real time. Ambassador Threll turned back to me. "Captain Voss, on behalf of the Kryvex Accord, we would be honored to have Earth's support in this crisis." "You'll have it," I said. "We'll send additional ships to reinforce this sector immediately, and we'll coordinate with your defense teams to plan our next steps." The meeting continued for another hour, covering logistics, communication systems, and strategy. By the end, what started as a tense, uncertain gathering had turned into a cooperative planning session. The delegates who once spoke to us with quiet doubt were now speaking with respect, sometimes even gratitude. As we prepared to leave the station, Ambassador Threll walked with me to the docking bay. "I must admit, Captain, we misjudged your people." "It happens," I said honestly. "Most civilizations judge by first impressions, and ours weren't very impressive at first." He studied me for a moment. "You've grown much faster than we expected." "We had good reasons to," I replied. "Every challenge we faced taught us something. We simply chose to learn quickly." He nodded slowly, as if understanding something deeper. "I hope our two peoples can continue working together." "I hope so too," I said, and meant it. As the Prometheus pulled away from the station and prepared for the jump back toward Earth's border, I stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. My crew worked quietly around me, still buzzing with quiet pride over how the meeting had gone. Daniel walked up beside me. "You think they'll remember this?" "I think," I said, "they'll remember it for a long time." He smiled. "Should we tell them Prometheus isn't even our strongest ship?" I laughed softly. "Let's save that surprise for another day." As we entered warp, leaving the Threll belt behind, I thought about how far humanity had come. We started as the newest, weakest species in a galaxy full of older, more experienced civilizations. But instead of accepting that role forever, we worked, we adapted, and we grew stronger with every challenge placed in front of us. Tonight, an entire council of alien nations learned that lesson firsthand. They expected a tiny shuttle carrying a nervous diplomat. Instead, they got a warship built from years of quiet determination, crewed by people who refused to be underestimated. And somewhere far behind us, back on Earth, more ships, like the Prometheus, waited quietly in their docks, ready for whatever the galaxy had planned next. We were no longer the newcomers everyone expected to overlook. We were simply getting started.